Welcome to my bedroom in Colorado. Now, if you've been following our Live the Philippines channel, you've probably already seen my room in BGC Manila, but not many people have seen my bedroom here in Colorado. I have my futon, which is usually where my friends sleep that can go back into a bed. I have my katana, my loft bed, and my gaming setup. A lot of you probably don't know that YouTube isn't my only career. I am also a gamer. But here's what this episode's really about. My pet geckos. They are giant Madagascar day geckos. I have two of them. One of them is named Dexter, the other one is named Lila. Now, Dexter was my first gecko. I got her a little over 2 years ago. Please don't skedaddle. This is Dexter. She was my first gecko. I got her a little over 2 years ago. And she is crawling up my back. That is what she is. So she's probably about 2.5 years old because when I first got her, she was about 5 months old. And she was so little that she couldn't even be sexed to determine whether or not she was a boy or a girl. So we took a risk and we named her Dexter, not knowing that she was actually a girl. So this is Dexter. She is a female giant Madagascar day gecko. I consider her my emotional support animal because I've had her the longest. She's somewhat shy, but when she's in her enclosure, she's always very happy. This is about as big as she'll ever get. She might grow maybe an inch longer, but she's a pretty big gecko. And she's laid about 10 eggs, which is what this smaller enclosure here is for. This is for holding the eggs. It's got a little heat lamp. I'd pour water in it every day if we had eggs, and this is mainly just how we'd hatch them and where the baby geckos would be after they hatch. And the reason we would put the babies in here is because if they're with their mom, sometimes they like to eat the eggs or bite the babies when they get really, really hungry. That also goes for the father. We've had it happen a few times with eggs, but definitely not with babies because we actually haven't had any of those yet, unfortunately. But one day we will have some baby giant Madagascar day geckos. Now let's check out Lila. Now Lila is the more dominant and aggressive male, but he's really just aggressive towards food and sometimes other geckos, but only when it comes to food. Otherwise, he's a pretty calm and chill gecko. Sometimes he will poop on you. Oh, he pooped on me. Like that. Okay, so he doesn't like being out of the enclosure as much as Dexter. Dexter doesn't mind it, but overall she'd probably rather be in her enclosure. Now, the reason we named him Lila, even though he's a boy, was because we just thought it'd make a lot more sense to name the boy with a girl name if the girl had a boy name. And the way they can climb up trees and flat walls is because they have some cool little suction cups on their feet that they can use to stick to the glass, and sometimes when they want to walk up like some branches and wood, they also have little small nails and they'll curl up their pads so they can just climb with their nails if they need to. Dexter, we actually got from a local pet shop here. I actually got to pick her out myself, but Lila here, we ordered him online because they were all out of stock of male geckos, and then we waited weeks, but they still didn't get any in stock, so we had to order Lila online, where they assured us that he was a male, and it took him about a day to get here in this little FedEx box made especially for reptiles. Let me put him back in here and show you a little bit of what we have inside. Okay, so we have a lot of wooden branches for them to climb on. Dexter's favorite piece is probably this piece of corkwood right here. She loves to hang out on there a lot. And we also have a few hides, including this one, and then a lot that are a lot lower to the ground and hard to get under. And the hides are for them in case they just want to be a little private and get away from something that makes them anxious and whatever. So I usually like to change up their habitat a little. Around 8 months, we've changed it up around 3 times. But this time we thought we might use some plastic artificial plants because the plants in the last few enclosures just grow so much and it was really a pain. We'd have to cut the leaves every once in a while. So now we have artificial plants where we don't have to cut them at all. Down here on the bottom we have 2 layers of materials. One is mulch to absorb the water so it doesn't overflow in here. And the second layer is the soil just to add a little substrate layer to make it more natural. The soil's also good for the isopods and springtails that will clean up the poop and the dead plants, which really help a lot more than you'd think. They're tiny little bugs that'll hang under the cork bark. Now up here on the top, we have their little vital light that's really just gonna make their enclosure a lot brighter so they can see everything a lot better. And it has necessary rays that will like mimic the sun for them. Now behind the vital lamp, we actually have heat lamps, which brings up the most commonly asked question I get. Who takes care of your geckos when you're traveling? Which we do a lot. The answer to that question is usually nobody takes care of them. Their environment is actually fully automated, and it all starts right here. So whenever I'm playing Call of Duty and stuff, like the misters will go on and I can always hear it. And usually when I'm playing games on this, Lila or Dexter will like come up to the screen and watch me play. It's kind of cute. This entire system is automated. Well, almost all of it's powered by this little like port bank where you can plug things in, and you can plug some in where it turns on at night and some where it turns on during the day. And then we also have this automated little piece of tech that'll turn on a pump that'll pump water through a little nozzle up in the enclosure from this big, like few gallons of water, like around 5 times a day. And that's how it stays humid in there, which is really important because unlike our place in the Philippines, Denver's really dry. I think it's a 5-gallon reservoir, but it might be like more or less. We only put distilled water in there because anything else is probably gonna like clog the nozzles over time. So I have a few things food related down here. I have this dog toy that I actually use to show them when it's food time. I'll bring it up to the like screen and show it to them. Sometimes I'll tap it to get their attention and they'll look at it and they'll immediately know it's food time so they don't mistake your finger for food or anything. My sister Reagan learned that the hard way. I also have some freeze-dried mealworms. It's one of their favorite foods. And then I have this, and I'll show you what it's for later. I also have a little powder diet for geckos. It's actually watermelon and like chopped up crickets and insects, and you just put it in with half water and half of the like food base, and then it's like a baby food and it's good to go. Downstairs we also have some baby food which we'll give to them from time to time, and that's about it besides a little spray bottle that I just used to clean. This is my spare night heat bulb. We actually have 2 different kinds of heat lamps. One of them is for the daytime, which is on right now, which will just evaporate the water, but that turns off at night, so we need one that's not gonna be too bright so they can sleep, and it'll make it warm at night so it's not too cold and dry. There's a couple gallons of spare distilled water over here, and then we have our 2 different types of heat lamps. Now you can see one of them is very bright and hot, and then we have a second one that's not on yet, but we can show you that at nighttime when it turns on, and it's really just like purple, like an LED almost, and it gets pretty hot. It's I think 50 volts, and it'll really just keep the enclosure warm and dark while they're sleeping. So that's the automation system, which leaves feeding, and luckily you don't have to feed your geckos every day. So usually every couple of weeks we'll throw in 60 or 70 crickets, and we'll usually do that right before we go on vacation. And sometimes if we really need to, we'll have my sister Reagan come out here and feed them like about halfway through the trip. And we travel a lot, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see my other videos, hopefully not in my bedroom and out in the wild. But these guys are actually looking pretty hungry right now, so let's go to PetSmart and get them some crickets. The weather's a little bit different here than Manila. Luckily, we have a PetSmart that's only about 10 to 15 minutes away from here, but unfortunately, half the time when we go there, they're usually out of crickets. So hopefully they have some today. It's really bright. It would be ideal if we could just get 100 crickets and then have them mate in the enclosure so we'd never have to buy more. But unfortunately, they only sell females when they are in stock with crickets. And I'm pretty sure they do that, so we have to keep coming back and getting more instead of just mating them in our enclosure. I've tried catching wild crickets around our house, but there are a few problems with that. One, it's hard to find some that are the right size, and when I do find some that are the right size, they get eaten so quickly that they can't even mate. We're here. They have dog toy squishmallows. Here's what we're looking for. They are... They've probably got 100 or so. Can we get 60 of the small crickets, please?
Absolutely.
And can we get cardboard with that too, please? Thank you. The cardboard is actually to keep them alive longer and less stressed. They have something to climb on. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm also gonna get them some reptile-friendly Jello. I know Lila and Dexter love this, and I hope they like this kind too. They also have quite a bit of geckos. Over here, it looks like they have fancy leopard geckos somewhere in there, and some normal leopard geckos somewhere in here. Oh, I spotted one. They also have chameleons, crested geckos, and Bahama anoles. Wow, this actually caught my eye. It says live giant day gecko for $40. It looks like there's not a giant day gecko anymore. I think we missed it. It's so fast. So here's what I've determined. I've seen the giant day gecko and the red morph bearded dragon, but both of them I can't find any geckos or bearded dragons in them, and both of them have their water dish flipped over. I think that's trying to tell us there's nothing in them. All right, let's go check out. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that we've got our crickets, I can show you what this other little cup is for. Now, it's actually calcium powder, and what it does is, like when you feed it to your geckos, calcium will like build bone structure, and it is a huge need for geckos out in the wild who have to climb trees a lot. So we have to add that to almost everything. We open it up, take a little piece of cardboard out, put this down and throw this away real quick. And then you're gonna take your calcium powder, pretty little scoop, just like this, and you're gonna pour it in. Now this is a horrible day to be a cricket covered in white powder in a green and brown enclosure. You blow into it, and you kind of shake it around a little bit, and they're coated in calcium powder, just like that. And then pour in your crickets. Just went around. Now let's wait for them to smell and notice the crickets. Dexter usually finds them first, but sometimes it takes them both a hot second to notice that there's even crickets in the enclosure. Now that they've got crickets in there, let's refill their reservoir. So we kind of just gotta pull it out like this. It's super heavy. First, we've got to take off the cap of the reservoir, and then take off the cap of the water and pour it in. Ready? I'm gonna spill on too bit. Put cap back on, and we should be good for about a month or two. That should tide them over for a few weeks. Now we've got to go start packing because we're about to go back out to BGC Manila. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see the videos that I'm going to film there. Catch you in the next one.